Fellow toastmasters.
Aloha.
How many of you wear socks periodically? Me too. Have you ever wondered how much work goes into a pair of socks? I always wondered about it when I was living back on the mainland wearing my nice thick wool socks in the wintertime. And once I became a knitter, I started to think about it. On your tables, you should all have a color copy of the handout, and everybody hopefully has a packet. If anybody doesn't have a packet, please pass them around. Knitting from sheep to socks. Of course, we start out with adorable sheep. I enjoy sheep when they're in the field or when they're on my needles. The first thing you have to do is shear the sheep. Sheep are generally shorn twice a year. It may be a little stressful for the sheep, and it's really hard work because you have to wrestle the sheep and then shear them. This picture here, this gentleman is actually using shears by hand. Nowadays they've got electric ones. They just pull the sheep and go rrr, rrr. Makes it go a lot faster. Once the sheep is shorn, you have a stack of wool. And wool is dirty. Sheep are dirty. It's a good idea to wash it first. And then you go through a process called carding. You see this lady here is carding. What the card is, it's a whole bunch of metal pins on a board. And there's two of them, and you scrape it back across each other. And as you do that, what you're doing is you're lining up all the fibers in the wool. Because sheep, their fibers are not lined up. In order to spin the wool, you need to get it all lined up. And once you've spun the wool, once you've carded the wool rather, you come up with this wonderful, wonderful product that's called roving. Roving is the wool once it's been washed and carded and it's all in a line. All the fibers are lined up together. After you've carded it, you can dye it if you like. You heat the water, put in the dye. Some people use Kool-Aid. Some people use natural dyes, like certain insects will cause the wool to turn red. Some vegetables will cause the wool to turn green or purple. And so you can do that with your wool and come up with a wonderful color. Once you've dyed and dried your roving, then you need to spin it. The first picture here, I'd love to illustrate this one especially. I took this picture when I was in Barcelona. Down here on the bottom, you actually see a drop spindle with a stone flywheel. This is from Roman times. This is about 2,000 years old, these drop spindles. This has been around for a long time. The second picture is a woman in China actually using a drop spindle as she walks along. If you look in her hand that's out here, you'll see the roving. You see the puffy little white roving that she's holding as she drops the spindle and spins it to make yarn. You can also use a spinning wheel. There are lots of different styles of spinning wheels. There's two illustrated here. One has all the labels for what each part is. Personally, I have a really hard time with the spinning wheel. I just can't get my yarn to come out nice and straight and even. Someday, maybe. Once you've spun your wool, you want to make it into a skein. So you have your yarn and you run it onto a swift. There are also a lot of different types of swifts. The squirrel cage swift, that is in this picture here, is probably the oldest style of swift. And once you put your yarn onto the swift, you end up with a skein like this. Now, it would be kind of difficult to use this yarn because it's not organized. It's just organized in a big round oval. Yeah? It's not really in a line where you can pull it easily without tangling. So the next step is to roll it into a ball. Nowadays they have these wonderful ball winders. You put your yarn on, you hook it in, and you spin it like this. And pulls the yarn directly off the Swift and puts it into a ball. And it's wonderful. Now, how many of you have ever used yarn and actually wrapped it into a real ball? Actually, a ball. If you pull the string, the ball goes bouncing across the floor and rolls around and picks up everything. So what you want is what we call a center pull. See, I can pull my yarn and it doesn't pull the ball. So I can set my yarn on the chair beside me and knit, and the ball doesn't go bouncing around. This is what the ball winder does. Now, before we came up with this wonderful automated ball winder, we used something like this. This, in Norwegian, is called a nuspend, and it's written N-O-S-T-P-I-N-D. Nuspend. And this, what you do, much the same as the ball winder, you put your yarn onto the nuspend, take the end of it, and you just start wrapping it. And then once you take your yarn off of your nuspend, you will have a ball that looks like this that you can pull from the middle. Now, after you have your ball, you need needles. And needles are a wonderful thing. There's so many different types of needles, different sizes, from very large needles to very small needles, depending on the size of yarn and the project that you're making. My goal is to someday finish this sweater. You can see it kind of looks like a sweater. It's got the sleeves. Nice look. Pass that about. I have a lot of projects, but my favorite is socks. So there you have it. The process. How you start from a sheep and end up with socks. I hope to see some of you in my knitting class.